So the next session is a round-table discussion. It's titled Click to Victory. From their evolution to the roller coaster of ups and downs, we can gain insight from pro teams on what it's like to be on the top. The moderator for this panel is Managing Director and co-founder of Esports Insider, Sam Cook. Please give him a warm round of applause. Joining Sam on stage will be the COO of NIP Group, Jonas Gunderson, the COO of T1 Entertainment and Sports, Josh Ann, from OG CS Team Manager, Vladislava Zaklebina, Chairman from IHC Esports, Dave Lee, and the CEO and President of Nongshim Esports Co Limited, Nongshim Red Force, Ji Hwan Oh. Please give them a lovely round of applause. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. You can have your seats, everyone, nice and comfortable. So again, this session will be 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes Q&A time. And take it away, Sam. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. How we doing, everybody?
Good.
Hey, there we go. What a lovely lunch. How about that shrimp? You have some of the shrimp, Jonas?
No, I did not. But I heard about it.
This guy. You missed out. All right, everybody. My name is Sam Cook. I'm the MD and co-founder of Esports Insider. Laura did a fantastic job of introducing us this morning, but we are an esports-focused B2B events and media company. And we'll also have our ESI Hall of Fame at the end of today, so please do stick around. And a very big thank you to IESF for having us. Jonas, you're the closest to me, so you can go first. Over to you for the introductions.
Hi, everybody. I'm the closest to Sam, apparently. I'm the CEO.
Emotionally and physically.
I'm the COO of Ninjas in Pajamas, one of the, I guess, oldest teams in the world. We're over 22 years old now. Nowadays, we are the NIP Group, working with one of the biggest teams down in China. So we're a bit everywhere at the moment.
I think I'm next.
Sure.
Hello, I'm Vladislava Zaklebina. Yeah, girl with a hard name to pronounce. I'm in esports forever. I was in different positions. Right now, I'm team manager of OG Esports. We're well known for Dota 2 roster, who won 2 TIs in a row. And yeah, also we have a Counter-Strike team, and we're working hard on them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Evans Ji Hwan Oh, running the esports organization Nongshim Esports, famous for Shinramen. So actually, we are not the successful team organization compared to these groups, but we are much things to achieve, and we are really having a strength in our academy system. So we have a 5 levels academy system, and we started first the esports academy in LCK. So we are going to build a sustainable sports club, just like a traditionals. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Dave. I guess we are one of the youngest esports team. We've been around for a little under 2 years. We're from Mongolia. One of the co-founders and chairman of IHC, where we represent multiple games like CSGO, Dota, PUBG, and Mobile Legends. Thanks for having us, and looking forward to our talks.
Hello, I'm Josh An from T1. I'm the CEO of the company. Before I talk about my company very briefly, I want to make a correction on behalf of Evans, if I may. Evans does not run a small org. He has a very, very good challengers roster for League of Legends, won twice in a row, so he's just being humble. My turn, I guess. T1, we run League of Legends and Valorant, and then we just finished this season with our 4th title 2 weeks ago. So I would have come here as runner-up, and very, very happy to be here as champion, so thank you.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Forgot your trophy.
Yeah.
Speaking of being humble, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, esports prizes worldwide, right? So give it up for Josh and T1.
Thank you, thank you.
Speaking of, as you may have guessed and noticed, these are all team owners / team executives on my left. So what we'll be talking about today is the evolution and the roller coaster and ups and downs of being involved with esports teams? It's good fun, eh? So, for starters, you all do run successful teams or are involved with successful esports teams. How do you build a winning philosophy, and how much has your approach to building that changed over the years? Who would like to go first?
I think Josh should go.
Sure. I'll keep mine short. I guess I took over the CEO position about 2.5 years ago. And then T1's been around more than 2 decades. We're actually close to 2 decades. Next year is our 20th anniversary. So the winning DNA has been always in our DNA. And I guess it's in the DNA of Koreans. We are a very small country, but very competitive. So being competitive and being the best at what we do is always in our DNA, in our genes. So that's something that we kind of exemplified in the organization of T1. And I could talk about my personal struggles and personal story as to how we got to this championship, but then overall we have that DNA.
Anyone else want to jump in on that one?
If you don't have a DNA, what you can do?
So honestly, I was going to talk about it because when it comes to raising great esports players, people will talk about work ethic. People will talk about the scientific training regimen and all these things that are that's based on your merit. But then talents matter a lot. So you need the genes, honestly, in my opinion. And on top of those genes, you have to put in the work and the training. And what we do as an org or as an executive at T1 is the players who come to T1 have to be very, very talented. They have to be the top 0.1% of the population. So with those talents, you train your skills and traits to the best of the best. And then when you reap the fruits, I teach them to share the fruits. So you need the talents, I think. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, obviously we have a bit of a different predicament. I think that we were very, very good early on in esports. We're still very good, if you ask me. But we had a lot of our success roughly 7 or 8 years ago or something like that. So we definitely have the DNA also. But I think what we saw has been a great shift, which I think many can see also in esports as a whole, the requirements for players, the requirements for organizations, etc. So I think we've been focused on maneuvering the change as much as possible, the best as possible. So we've had to sort of refine ourselves in some ways of our DNA in it. So for us, it's been much more about a holistic approach, actually, to, yes, of course, keeping the DNA intact that we do have, but also figuring out the DNA of winning 10 years ago is very different to the DNA of winning today. We usually compare ourselves to Manchester United, which is was a very big football club, which has had a lot of success, right? I'm not a United fan, I'm a Chelsea fan, but whatever. But similar to that, they won a lot and have had a rougher patch where they didn't win. They're trying the same thing, where they have to keep the DNA intact, but they also have to modernize the whole club. And I think I've been speaking about it sometimes, that when we were so good, honestly, humble brag, not so humble, we were so good at Counter-Strike earlier on that when you're this good at the pinnacle, you will inevitably fall at one point because other people will play catch up to you. And when that happened to us, of course, you know, you have to change the game completely. You have to change DNA, approach, everything like that. So I think for us, it's been what's it called? The process of changing and transforming yourself is what we're focusing on now. Building the foundation of being able to, you know, change with the times and keep innovating from there. And then hopefully leading into a bit better results than what we have now. Even though they're still good, I think for us to get back to the championship winning, it's about process and fundamentals of change, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, it is too hard to talking about success sitting next to T1, but actually in a LCK, so first level of Korean esports, and second step there are Challengers League, which is a second league of LCK. So actually we are dominating that league for 3 times in a row for 3 years. But so actually, as I told you, that we are focusing on building the strong academy system. So what we are emphasizing on our player is that focus on your basics. So we learned a lot of things from traditional sports like Manchester United or successful NBA or any other sports clubs that they don't allow their players to be feel free to get loose or feel free to think about game very easy. That is not allowed in our team because my own idea is that we have to build our esports team just same as traditional sports because it is definitely a sport. So because it is based on game, we have to feel free to control our players easily. I don't think so. We have to learn a lot of things from traditional sports, and we build a strong hierarchy. And I believe that strong players will train by that system, but only our organization. Yeah, not all.
I mean, for IESF, because we're so young, also I believe our organization is the first out of Mongolia to kind of make it to the global level. So for us, we have it much easier since we didn't have to go through all the learning curves. We kind of adapt to like what T1 and others have done. For us, I think the most important thing is, as you said, we like to, or at least I like to advocate that discipline beats talent all day. But I think it is also very critical that you need to have that basic talent to be able to beat discipline to make it to the championship level. So for us, it's more than, as Mongolia is so small with 3 million population globally, and us being the first group to kind of come out on the major leagues and been fortunate enough to get world championships and being able to make it to a lot of the other, final qualifications and so on. It's great to be here and to kind of learn from you guys and what the curves were and to be able to adapt. But for us, most important thing is, I think, exercising kind of the same fundamentals like every other industry that people are in. It is an emerging, it is a new industry in a lot of the ways. So for us, is balancing proper management, proper training, mental discipline, and all the above. And I think at best also for us is have fun and enjoy. So
For
I
sure.
think it's a similar approach also for OG. Have fun and enjoy. Enjoy to be in a team. Understand how to open all these talents because all of us, we are different. We can have a talents, but it's so hard to understand how exactly you can open your talent and perform on the highest level you can. So as I remember, OG was one of the first teams who also tried different approaches to open these talents. Not like, okay, we have the same system for everybody. No, maybe for this player, it's better to do this way. And for this player, it's better to do this way. And as we already mentioned, that esports change a lot. So like back then, 10 years ago, it was different approach to play games and do preparations and stuff. Right now, it's like much interesting, and from different perspectives, you can see, you understand that mental health is important. You understand that your skills in the game, it's also important, but you need to understand how to be a good teammate as well and how to perform on the highest level as a team and win as a team.
For sure. A couple of people there referenced football clubs or looking to replicate some of the ways football clubs or sports clubs do things. Obviously, one big thing they all do is spend time together in person. Pretty required to play football, I think. How important would you say is a team HQ and or time spent in person together for an esports team? And what does the dream, the perfect esports team HQ include? A side note here to say that, Josh, we were at T1 yesterday, as you know, and I'm pretty sure T1 is the only esports team in the world with a sauna built in to its HQ.
We're in there.
So I'm gonna,
Did you use
I'm
it?
gonna get training again. No, that we weren't allowed. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, so we have a pretty good facility in Seoul If any of you want to come visit, please let me know. You're more than welcome anytime. So Sam was there yesterday. We have everything from sauna to cafeteria, a gym, like a massage facility. We have a karaoke booth as well, because when COVID was happening, we wanted to make sure that the players had some access to entertainment aside from gaming, because gaming for them became work. It wasn't much of an entertainment. So we wanted to keep them entertained while still being isolated from the society to keep away from COVID. And then we also have practice room, et cetera, et cetera. We have everything in the building. And I think, even though a lot of gaming happens online, being there in person is very, very important. I have a very, deep type of skinship with my players as well, because having that bond, personal and professional, matters a lot. So I think between the players as well, having the chemistry requires a lot of spending a lot of time together.
Yeah, I think I was saying to you earlier, I joined NIP a bit over 4 years ago, and 3 months after I joined, COVID hit. And we were literally rebuilding the whole thing at the time, and that's challenging if you're rebuilding a DNA and you can't get together. And I think esports, of course, it's born global in many ways, and we're very remote. I think you can translate it into a normal workplace also. But at the end of the day, spending time together, it's also in esports, like the boot camping, right? You get together, you sit in a room, you get the vibe going, right? I think it's immensely important. I don't think you have to necessarily be together all the time, but as we were when we were rebuilding, we were not together at all, and that clearly had massive difficulties, right? Of building up a new DNA and a new culture. The time you spend together, you simply don't get to know each other on a personal level. So I think you mentioned football, right? I think of course there's benefits to being a local club, that it's a physical activity. You have to be together. The academy teams can be together with the big teams. There's big advantages to it, but I think if I draw parallels to maybe the modern work environment, I think a lot of us learned also that office life is not necessarily all the time. Like I think a lot of us have a preference now of being a hybrid, right? Saying, hey, I do my thing at home, gather my energy again, and then when you go into the office, you can release a lot of energy into the personal relation stuff. So I think for me, it's a hybrid into that now, but it matters immensely, like being together on a personal level. But a combination, I think.
Yeah, I believe also it's important to balance this, because some person can, I don't know, like, for example, speak to each other all the time, and for some people it's important to go back to your room and have some time alone. And about like boot camps and stuff, it's also important to hear your players and hear like your team, what it's important for them to have. For example, like karaoke, I know it's like culture thing here, like maybe sauna for Finnish people, maybe also for you.
And Koreans also,
like,
apparently.
Yeah. So we have a house in Lisbon with a pool, not sauna, but it's still something, because it's like a chill vibe, and players can play at the same time, relax next to a pool with the sun, with a nice environment, and it also helps a lot to help them with mental state and just enjoy their life and play is their favorite game.
Yeah, and in the perspective of company, I think the building three kind of asset is really important to esports organization, which is that first thing is HL, which includes great players and great operators, something like that. And second is a team brand asset, and third asset is, I guess, which is I think real asset, real estate, just like a stadium. So nowadays, and also my organization also aim to build their own HQ maybe in 3 years, because actually we compare our clubs to traditional football or basketball. We don't have stadium. So we don't have any place to exchange our experience and good feelings with our fans. So I think firstly, for players' wellness, HQ is strongly important. So that's why all international esports clubs build their own HQ. And the second level, we need our kind of stadium so we can exchange our feelings and we can meet our fans and our all business partners in that place. So that's what my point of view on HQ nowadays. Right?
I think you just took mine because it's all kind of repeated, conversations. For us, it's a little bit unique with so being new and being so less population, right? Everyone kind of segregated around the capital, Ulaanbaatar, with around 1.7 million. Besides all the obvious, what we focus, in addition to, I guess, other organizations that allow us to do so, utilizing our negative as a positive, is connecting with the entire country. So our entire organization, our players are all local Mongolians. And we, out of all the boot camps, unfortunately, we don't have the financial capability right now to build all these amazing facilities. But what we try to do is, and due to the weather, we try to create this bond with a lot of the fans. So Mongolia being, new, Mongolia is known for cashmere or, vodka, other things on an outbound. And esports became one of the few things that kind of able to advocate, on an outbound level to the global. So what we focus with our players and from the HQ, one of the biggest, topics that we discuss heavily on is how do we communicate, how do we engage with the fan base together and build a quality synergy amongst management, players, and the fans out of Mongolia, and how can we always advocate for the positive movements that we're making with this new generation, with this new era that's kind of coming in place. So,
Kashmir, vodka, and esports then. We'll get the ESI interview sorted next week, mate.
done.
Happy days. I think this is a question a lot of people ask and find interesting to know, especially these days with the team HQs becoming more prevalent now. But what does, for each of you respectively, what does a normal day look like for your players? How does Faker spend his Wednesdays?
I'm going first again.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, so our players usually get up around noon, and then they come and have their breakfast at around 12:30. From 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.-ish, they have their first set of scrims, with scrims as in like scrimmages with other teams. And then from 4 to 7 p.m., it's their break time, so they do whatever. They can practice more if they want to. They can meet their friends outside of the org if they want to. It's their free time from 4 to 7. And then from 7 to 11 p.m., they have another set of scrims. From 11, and then in between, they will have meals and stuff. So that's I just omitted the part. From 11, it's their practice time, individual practice time. So they go to bed at around 4 a.m.-ish. So as you can tell, it's not a healthy cycle. I am a big believer of you have to be up when the sun's up, and you have to be asleep or sleeping when the sun's down. But then our players do the opposite. It takes a league-wide effort for us to change that, because we have witnessed during the Asian Games that happened in Hangzhou in China this year. The games were played at like 8 a.m. in the morning, so the players had to build their training schedule around that. So they would get up at like 7 a.m. or earlier to get their body ready for the match at 8 a.m. So I think we can change it. One of the challenges is that we want to schedule our matches when the players are, when the viewers are most accessible. So that'll be after work. So like 7 p.m. or even later. So that's why practices tend to get later. And then another thing is they need to practice with not just professional gamers, but gamers that are amateur but still very good. And a lot of them will practice at later hours than in the afternoon. So, but I think it is possible to change that, but it's gonna take a league-wide or like a federation level of effort. But for the time being, they start their day at around noon.
Yeah, I think that sounds nice. I'd like to do that also. I think for us, we have for the whole group, we have 21 teams across the whole group sparring. We have teams in Brazil, we have teams in Europe, and we have teams in China across all games. So I think it varies a bit for us, of course, across the different games and the different ecosystems and regions. We try to have, I think, a more normal rhythm. I'm not going to say it's this normal, but a bit earlier. I think it starts. It depends again on the region. I think also of what happens. At the end of the day, these players, as it stands right now, need to be. They need to play when other teams are playing. And if that's the culture in a certain region, it's very hard for one team to say, "Hey, we're going to start 6 hours early" if there's no one to play against. That's very hard, right? And I think we would also like to see a much more professionalized standard around it, but it's also a delicate dance. Now we're obviously here discussing maybe some better formats or something like that, but it's a delicate balance between, esports still at this time is a lot about the talent, the player talent, and the experience that they have, more than it's the lifestyle. Controversial statement, right? I think most of us agree that in the future, it's definitely where we're heading. Absolutely, like a much more sports way of approaching stuff. But it's a balance at the moment of staying within what the esports players actually want and what we know is the best for the future. So I think we try across all the teams and balance that out a bit and say, okay, we would like you to get up earlier, but if that's how it's working at the moment, maybe that works. So it's let's say accumulated massaging into being more professional overall. I think we're trying.
Yeah, I think it's the same also for Dota 2 team. I think our schedule looks similar. But for Counter-Strike, we usually prefer to wake up early and finish earlier and have like more kind of normal schedule, like start at 10:30 or something. But of course, we all the time need to adjust our schedule to tournaments, for example. If just practice day, it's one schedule. If you like, we have an official match, then we build our all day around this match, for example. If maybe it's even like 2 matches in a row or something like this. So we need to all the time adapt to this. And as well, for example, if it's boot camps, then it's like full focus on practices and like on not only game. It's like could be something outside of a game, I know, team building, something else. So you need to combine all this stuff. And of course, like it's much more hours during boot camps and it's just normal practices from homes. And the same schedule looks different if it's a tournament as well. Sometimes, you need to play a game at 10 p.m., finish at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then you have a game at 10 and you need to wake up already at 7 a.m. Unfortunately, you need to deal with this, but we're trying to balance these things. And also hear our players, but at the same time helps them to perform on a high level and helps them to understand themselves. I like to wake up at 12, but it really works for you, or you just like it, or maybe if you will try to wake up at 10, you will feel much better.
A bit of an extension to that question then. And Jonas, knowing this is one you're passionate about, so maybe you could lead here, but how much across the board as well, though, how much emphasis do you place on looking out for or guiding players post-career, right? Once they've hung up the keyboard? How much of a focus is there on that at your organization?
I think it's something you have to talk about, but I think it also ties into how much the duty of care you have with players as you have them. I've been a big advocate for leadership in esports and the need for leadership in esports. And I think what I see the most is that, kind of like I was hinting before, there's so much change going. Like I said, the DNA of winning 10 years ago versus today versus tomorrow is going to be so different. And at the end of the day, that's a transformational people challenge that you're dealing with in an organization. Also, even though if it's a player or an operator in the industry, it's going to be the same. And again, we're sitting in a forum where we discuss a lot of these great changes that are happening at the moment, but it's also going very fast, like a lot of it. And if that happened in a normal workplace, what that leads to is burnout in general, right? People will simply get burned out if there's change too fast. I have a background in, used to be a professional gamer, actually played World Cyber Games in 2003 in South Korea, came third, by the way. But outside of having been a gamer, I've been an entrepreneur for many years, been in entrepreneurship where you deal with a lot of these stresses. So I actually did it, right? I was a gamer and then I had a career after. But what you are taught in entrepreneurship is to thrive in chaos in many ways. You know, a lot of the uncertainties, you have to reinvent yourself every 3 months, etc. So for that kind of profile, I think it's easier, but I think we have a massive responsibility, I think, as organizations, any stakeholder in the industry at the moment, to take care of the people that are in the industry as we are here now, but then also after, of course, with the players. But I think it's, it's quite wild working in esports. I think everybody can agree on that, right? It's more regulated than before, but it changes every 3 months, right? And for players, yeah, I don't even know if I answered that actual question because it's wide. I think that's a whole topic in itself. How the athlete itself, then they play and then they're done and then they have to get a career after. But I guess my approach is that it's a holistic people component more than just an athlete thing, right? In order to thrive in esports, you need to we need to do a lot of support, like and really teach people what it's about.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's more on personalities and something, for example, about a game, because right now we're playing like, I don't know, League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, but we don't know how long time this game will exist and if this talent will be like, I don't know, we will need him for like future or something. But if it's like personality, if it's like a lot of knowledge of esports and like other skills, of course, yes, there is a future. I mean, I'm probably example. I also was a professional player, and now I'm in esports forever.
For us, I think because we're the first generation, there are a lot of available options that we can transfer to and teach the players right now, which excites me. So for us, being an Asian country where obviously it was heavily influenced by the Soviets in the past, so the older generations speak Mongolian and Russian, then it turns to German. Now the younger generations are pretty good at English or Korean, etc. So we try to focus, even the daily activities, a lot of free time. We don't want it to be just all about, like you said, it's at a certain point it turns to work than an entertainment. And they kind of lose that passion, the spark that they had as to why they started and why I ended up joining a group of people together and making a professional life out of it. And since it's relatively new and we are kind of paving the way for it to become more financially stable for a player as well as organizations, it's exciting to emphasize on act the par and being able to learn from other global players, learn from previous players. Some of you guys sitting here today, and constantly giving them the look. It is still relatively new. For Mongolia, it's even newer. But the fact that we're the first generation, since we're the pioneer and we're the representing, company, the players from the region, as long as we're learning things outside of the gaming itself only, and I think that creates the healthy balance I think we try to emphasize on. That it's not just about gaming, so that's how we're able to kind of also work around the addiction. We're able to work around, finding life outside of it, and through that we try to knock a few birds with it, right? So we try to create some team synergy, energy, workshops, etc. And as we are now, being blessed with a lot of good milestones that we achieved, and being able to come out to Korea, go out to other countries globally and be able to kind of share our stories, it is also very significant, and it is a very blessing for us representing Mongolia, for me to be here and to be able to share that, because this becomes a true witness to what the future can be in esports for South Asia region, for Mongolians and so forth.
I think T1 is in the best position to answer your question, Sam, because we've been around the longest, 20 years. It's not a short time. And we are very proud to, I guess, tell you, or some of you may know already, one of the godfathers of esports is Boxer. He's a StarCraft player. He's one of our founding members, and he's still with us today. He's with us as a streamer, and we employ a lot of past players from T1. So, Sam, to answer your question, we care a lot about the player's career after their playing career is done. A lot of them are with us as streamers. A lot of them are with us as coaches. A lot of them are with us as stakeholders. Faker will be with us as a stakeholder because we gave them stock options, so he can be with us forever. And we kind of feel like there's a responsibility and obligation for us to kind of pave the way because we are in many ways a pioneer in the industry. And one more example is we started our academy. Singhyun is here with Genji Global Academy. We started our academy called T1 Esports Academy as well. There could be many motivations for building an academy, and ours, one of the main reasons was to provide retired gamers a very respectable career option, because I believed teachers are a time-honored profession. Teachers are respected in the West and the East, in the past and the present and the future. So we wanted to give ex-pro gamers that career option. So we wanted to recruit the best. So the first teachers we had at T1 Esports Academy were ex-T1 players. We had to pay them more. We pay our instructors a lot more than GGA probably. And that's because we believe in giving them a career option. So we care a lot about the players. And one more thing to add to that is, I believe Faker could have been anything. He could have been a doctor. He could have been a professor if he wanted to. That is because he has a very, very good brain capacity. In other words, he's very, very smart. And we have in Korea, even though sometimes gaming is frowned upon and stigmatized, we still have a very long history of esports. So players like Boxer and another player, Yellow, they are very famous in Korean society as celebrities and influencers. And one of the biggest influencers in Korea, his name is Kim Changman, you guys wouldn't know, but then he started his streaming as a gamer, but that he ventured into other professions. How? Because I think he was smart, and I think our players are very smart. Faker could have been anything. So because the gamers at T1 are very smart, if we give them a lot of options for them to explore, they can become anything. And as an org, we have an obligation and responsibility to provide those options to them.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Evans, please.
Yeah, just short. My idea is that actually we started our first esports academy business 7 years ago, and we have to basically I admired T1's legacy and how they treat their old legends. That's wonderful, but we have to think about maybe over the 90% of old gamers, retired gamers, doing nothing related to esports. Yeah, so that's a problem. And actually, we trained or we give our education services to students who want to be a pro gamers or maybe marketers, journalists, or any industry or something. I feel guilty nowadays because actually maybe in Korea recently, maybe 10 jobs opportunity has opened in esports organization. Maybe it is too hard to get hired by Riot Games or Blizzard. It is super hard. So what I emphasizing now is that we are opening the school. We are opening the government because maybe compared to football or baseball, basketball, retired players, maybe 30% over the retired players are doing training job in amateur sports. So that's what we want to. That's what we have to adapt the system. So I'm trying to open the high school esports team and middle school esports team, and sometimes government owns regional team. So we have to expand the jobs nowadays. So that's what I thinking about in esports academy business nowadays.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. Moving on from players over to the other pretty important component of esports, the fans. Can't live with them, can't live without them, etc. But managing expectations and keeping them happy is a whole other thing, right? Are there any stories of joy or indeed of woe that anyone would like to share about this, including keeping players safe from some of the more passionate fans, shall we say? So, Josh, not to pick on you first again.
I would say we have the most passionate fans in the world. Very, very passionate to the extent that sometimes it gets too extreme. We've gotten protest trucks when we were on a losing streak, when there were some incidents with our coaching staff. We've gotten funeral wreaths, basically a death sentence to the org. But then we've also had very, very happy memories with fans as well. When we lost in the finals in World Championship last year in San Francisco, there were fans waiting for us at the hotel, and they spent the night waiting for the team to come out, and then they cry with us. So funeral wreaths, protest trucks, these crying fans, these are all an amalgamation of our fandom, and these are some of the stories. But overall, we're very, very grateful and blessed to have so many fans. So yeah.
I think we have obviously similar stories to it because we've been around. We have so many passionate fans about the NIP brand as a whole that really want to see us winning again. They also get very mad when we don't win. And you asked the question about how do you then shield some of the players from that, because we do get the passion also. And one of the things we've been dealing with is actually, again, I said it before, but the dynasty thing, right? We had such a big dynasty that was winning, so we get compared to that all the time. And right now we're in a rebuilding phase. And one of the biggest problems we've had is actually new players coming in. And then, you know, we play one match, we lose that, and then they get shit on, these players, immediately, because the expectations are so high from the fans. And we have such a big task in saying, listen, it's a new thing, you're going to have to give it time, because we're rebuilding something, right? So that's a really tricky exercise, actually, because, of course, you love, like you say, we love the fans and the passion, and even the positives and the negatives is just it's an image of that people care about the brand, right? Of course, that's lovely, but especially in the rebuilding phase, it's actually pretty tricky. So I think right now that's what we focus the most on, trying to say, we shift the narratives away and saying we need to give these people time. And just because we had an iconic time before, we're a new thing now. We have to reinvent it, right? That's how any sports dynasty works.
Do you think patience is in shorter supply across esports than it is in football, say? Or do you think it's par for the course?
I think we have a lot of examples in football when, for example,
Sure.
David Beckham was bullied in England so much because of some situation or something, and I think it's important to help players also to understand how to deal with this. That's not about them, and it's fine if they lose sometimes. It's like we're humans, and sometimes can happen, but it's important to explain what to do with this negativity or what to do with this passion fun. Because I remember when I started, it was a long time ago, esports wasn't that like big and important, but I still had some negativity about me just because I'm girl in esports or something. So it was like too much attention about something. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why people like treating me like this? I didn't do anything wrong, but nothing wrong with me. Just like something, I don't know, some pain in this person, like soul or something. And he like, and again, it's online, it's internet. It's so easy to just say something bad to another person and just like, yeah, I'm fine now. And yeah, just like probably teach players and staff how to deal with this, how just like think about this, don't think about this, because it still could be like good feedback, even if negative feedback, you still can learn sometimes from this. But if it's something crazy, then yeah, just don't pay attention. But at the same time, it's also important to talk about this and explain to people, don't do this, please. There's a people and they have their own also feelings. Don't do it that way. So of course not all the time you can answer all these messages or something, but sometimes I think it's important to talk about this, because I also had some examples when, like, I don't know, on Instagram someone saying something bad and I'm answering something polite without any bad words and like, oh, Vladimir, can I have your autograph? Like, you just call me this word and now you want my autograph. So sometimes people just want attention, and this is why they're trying to do like, or like, I don't know, act this way to players. Yeah, but unfortunately it is, and we just need to learn how to deal with this, I think.
Yeah, I agree that I think esports, because we're so much closer to the fans, I think because it's so new, I think they feel like they're so close to it. But touching on, I think that happens in sport also somehow, right? But the patience level, I'm not sure it's the patience that's lower, but there's a tempo difference in esports compared to general sports, where because of the lack of structures that we do have, there's no transfer windows, there's no nothing like that. And I think the whole generation also, that it's a young generation of FOMO and instant all the time. We're so used to esports changing every 3 months, right? The roster changes, something like that. New tournament, next tournament, all that stuff. So I think that adds to the part where, you play 3 matches like, oh my God, this band, this is never going to work. It's like in the Premier League, they have a season at least to do something, right? They do have a winter transfer window. But I think the nature of what we're doing at the moment, also, again, very relevant to a conference like this, the more structure we get into, League of Legends is a good example of someone that has a better structure into it, right? So it's more robust for the players. But when it's this chaotic, the fans also just primed into being, impatient, you could say. But I think it's not only the fans, it's also us as an industry that simply need to slow down the tempo and say, let's give it a bit of time.
Yeah. Have you heard of sending trucks? I strongly hope that those culture will not be exported to European countries or any other, which is that fans gathering their money and buying advertising trucks. Trucks with advertising monitors.
Don't listen, please.
Yeah, so they saying that get out the coaches, get out of some players, or maybe T1 got more than 3 trucks a year, but actually it is top secret, but our organization's main goal, one of the main goal, is that prohibit the trucks being sent to our mother company, because our team will be disbanded if it happens. But I strongly agree with you, because the patience level of esports is too low. When we losing maybe 3 losing streaks, then they got mad and they even donate their money not to team but to fans leader. Yeah, and trucks drivers own the money.
So it's groups, it's fans that band. It's not just like one off fan.
Groups,
it's groups of fans that will band together.
More than 100. They give single dollars to hire the truck drivers, and even the truck driver drives through our headquarters, mother company, sponsorship companies.
It's targeted and it's planned.
It's clear in Korea. Yeah. So I strongly hope that culture will not be exported to your region.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, honestly. You kind of get used to it. But I'm sorry. I just wanted to add on to what Jonas was saying about the fans' patience and Sam's original question about the fans' expectation, because we are truly blessed and fortunate to have so many passionate fans in one way or another. But another thing that T1 has to go through is that high expectation, that amount of stress that's constantly pressuring the players and the staff as well. But honestly, I mean, I'm not too old to say something like this, but life is stressful. And honestly, I think the players kind of exemplify how to live this stressful life as a professional that has a lot on their shoulders. And we kind of enjoy that, because one of our legendary coaches, Koma, we just brought back this year. The reason we brought him back was to build another dynasty. So we had a dynasty with 3 World Championship titles. And before we won the 4th one this year, we decided to bring him back because we wanted to rebuild the dynasty. It was very difficult for us to win the 4th one. It took us 7 years since our last World Championship. But we believed in it, and we could do it in the midst of all the stress and all the pressure. And one of the things that this coach said in the past was, T1 may falter sometimes, but we will never collapse. So we work with this mantra, we work with this philosophy. So even though we couldn't win the whole thing every year, we were very close. We were runner-up, the past 5 finals, domestic and global, international. So I think due to the fans' high expectation, We kind of have to work under a lot of stress and pressure, but then it is, in a way, very fun. And then I think the players kind of enjoy that as well. And then in so doing, I think the players kind of put out a statement through their play and through their interviews that, life is tough, but we are kind of making do with, the way it is, and that we kind of survived, and that we want to show that by building another dynasty. And I think we enjoy the pressure, but going back to the patient thing, in the meantime, though, despite all the pressure and stress that we get from the fans, we have been trying to, in a way, tame the fans' behavior as well. Because we cannot win all the time. We cannot win every single year, even though we want to build the dynasty once again. So I think one of the things that I try to work with Riot to implement was a losers interview. Because in Korea, we never had that. Because it was all about winners take all. But that we wanted to create a culture in which losers got some respect as well. And that's a way for us to implement this culture of patience, if you may. And then so that, along the way to victory, along the way to championship, you may have to lose, but you have to get back up. And I guess, instilling that culture of patience is very important, and that's something that T1 has been very keen on working on.
For sure. Yeah, I think quite possibly one of the hardest jobs in esports is that of team social media manager, right? It's not one I want to do, that's for sure. Everybody, I wanted to allow sometimes for questions from the audience. Sorry, if anybody has any for the panel, please speak up. None at all? Go, Boban.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to ask, of course, the obvious question. I always ask it for 20 years in my life. What does it mean for the teams to have their players carry their flag and represent their country on international competitions? What does it seem to you? Is it possible? Is it doable? Do you see it as something that can become standard, not an exception to the rule? When we, certainly on our World Championship, at certain occasions, we have some professional athletes. And what's your opinion on that? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I can answer. 20 years ago, like I said, we actually did it, the World Cyber Games. That was a national competition. So I did represent Denmark twice in 2003 and 2005. That was special. And also, we just had the two Dutch girls win the Counter-Strike Championship, which are NIP players, which they were very happy about. I think... absolutely. I think it is a thing for esports players, like any other industry, to represent the country. The challenge is, as you well know, and here is to find the right balance between that, right? Where we are, let's say the football example, right? We are running as a Champions League, like and boxing, like with different federations at the moment, right? So it's a big challenge to get there, but under the right circumstance. And when I think back on, the feeling we had back then and the difference it gives in competition, absolutely, I think it's possible. And it's we do have players that want it and say that it's a nice thing. I think it's just about finding the right timing, the right format for it, where it can coexist, right? Because I don't think every organization is going to be national organizations. But for sure, I think many people would like it.
I think for IEC, we love it, we embrace it. Because we're so young and there's so little of us available. When we go represent wearing the Mongolian flag and advocating for this Mongolian story, we're always the underdogs, right? So for us, being I think no one really no one's gonna bring a boatload of trucks with panels saying, go quit, go die, to an underdog, right? So everyone kind of still roots for us, whether they don't know us or they're not even aware of us or we're the opponent. So for us, I think, to your point, Jonas, I think if you're able to balance how that works commercially, because at the end of the day, as an organization, it also has to make financial sense. So, but by wearing your country flag and be able to participate, that also entails what? It also entails that esports is becoming more structured in a sense that there are more regulations and guidelines where it's supported by your nation. So if it's also supported by your nation, I'm sure it's also going to come with other, in my opinion, it comes with a lot more pros than the cons of representing an individual organization, even in Korea, right? Or in everywhere. So if we're able to balance that out, I think it's more of a win situation for orgs as well as the country and as well as fans and the players. So for us, I think it's an amazing thing to kind of support that and boost that across the board, right?
Any others? Yes, please.
Hi. It's no secret that some high-caliber esports teams are quite expensive to run, some upwards of $1 million a year. Now, what do you feel as an esports organization is keys to sustainability?
Is that per roster or?
Say not some.
Or per player?
I know it's a wide range, but you know, some could be a team. Maybe for others it could be a player, but in this context, let's say a team.
Let me first. Yeah, actually, I was always thinking about sustainability because maybe football clubs have more than 100 years of their history, but we are maybe around 10 years, 20 years. One of the obstacles that that the team business can be profitable is the just like Riot Games or Blizzard, which is organizing their own games to be esports. So simplify that, I believe that the investment of our team is not that expensive compared to their popularity and their impacts on market. But actually, when we watch the Cristiano Ronaldo scores maybe a hat trick, then we bought a T-shirt of Cristiano Ronaldo or their football shoes, right? But when we watch the fantastic player Faker, then esports fans log into League of Legends and buy the skin or buy the in-game item.
They still buy Faker jersey.
Yeah, actually
Or
they
devices as well.
actually they also buy the Faker's jersey, but compared to traditional sports, the composition is quite different. So that's why I suggest that league organizers. Sorry, actually, yeah, league organizers must have distribute their profit to teams more. So finally, I believe that teams' investment is not that high. I think that must become a return if league distribute more incomes to esports teams. So I believe that nowadays league organizers must thinking about that distribution. So I think the structure will be changed, just like a Valorant or nowadays esports games.
I don't know. I think that's the Shinramen talking. Because Shinramen is so global.
Yeah, actually, our mother company expects that Shinramen must be sold more if we wins more. But yeah, I hope so.
I mean, we were having conversation. I think financially, I guess for big boys, it might be a different story. But for newer or smaller organizations, it's getting tougher and tougher. You're right. The cost to own and run a esports team is not cheap. It's not cheap anymore. And when we don't have like a big conglomerate under our name, and we have to kind of self-fund everything. Sponsors, endorsements are basically what you have. Yes, for CS:GO and others, yeah, fans when you win, they buy a ton of skins to etc. to kind of offset that. But nowadays, as well as we were talking this as underdogs, kind of making our names and coming out there. And this economy, the market, as well as the players, the mindset, the entire thing shifting so fast. Players expect more. As the fans grow, it's kind of irony, isn't it? As we kind of make ourselves out there and become more famous, and become more of a household name in Mongolia, and fans grow, so does expectations and financially the needs and expenses that are involved also grows with it. But I believe sponsors to endorsements and other sectors, I mean, this is the ugly truth, I think, don't grow with it, right? So it makes it tougher for us to sustain, and we have to continuously look for different ways to get creative, whether it's from streaming or creating other revenue options and so forth. And it's challenging. I mean, that's also what excites me. That's what kind of drives me and wakes me up in the morning versus why the players wake up in the morning. But I believe through the summits, conventions, one of the key components that I would like to leave with is if we can work together on how do we create more awareness with sponsors, with other brands on recognizing the impact and the reach that esports have and how it relates with the fans and how that leads to financial benefits for other guys. Because let's face it, during the COVID or when the financial economy hits, you know, when you have anything you need to cut your finances, what do? From the top, they cut sponsors, right? And then in sports, what do they cut? Esports, like things that are digital, that are not tangible. So for new guys or the smaller organizations, it's extremely imperative for us to be able to kind of ask, but also work together on creating more of a platforms that would allow a better sustainability and for branding, sponsors with organizations to be able to kind of work together where you grow in a similar pace rather than kind of offset it, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. I think if I was to summarize it, I don't think one size fits all in this industry, and I think that's one of the key components we've had. That okay, we're NIP, we're a bigger team, but you know, it's very different running a big team with the P&L that comes with it, right? You need bigger sponsorships, you need bigger money because you need the bigger players, right? But there is also advantages to being a different kind of team, and ultimately, we as an industry, we are going to thrive on the fact that many different teams are going to exist, right? It's like football again, right? Everybody likes, maybe not everybody, let's say Real Madrid, when they bought all the big players in that sense, right? That looks really cool, or PSG, as they're doing at the moment. It's incredibly expensive to run a team like that, and it looks good, and it's for someone, but we also need I might offend many people here, whatever, the Arsenals, the Tottenhams of the world, like the middle teams or whatever it is, right? They're still very good teams, but the same applies for esports here. And I think it's very easy for me to say, of course, when I'm in NIP, but the sooner we abandon the narrative of everybody trying to gun for the same #1 position, also in tournaments, like there's only one tournament that everyone is gunning for winning, right? There's more we can do. There's a need for more teams. And if you're a smart operator and you control your P&L correctly, like you were saying with the sponsorship, that they don't follow the eyeballs, I think overall, if you look in the industry at the moment, every single metric is growing pretty healthily. But of course, if we have a too strained P&L on how we run the teams, we need more money than it can sustain at the moment. But we are growing, and if you look at the trajectory of the next 20 years, it's going to happen. So it's about, you know, harnessing the speed a bit and saying, how much investment do you need? Let's say you want to do a big team again. You're a venture-funded business. Sure, then you need a lot of money. You need to keep raising money. It's similar to other businesses. You just have to tailor your strategy. And I think if I was to, again, summarize that, I think every team needs to be really aware of the kind of strategy that they're running their team on, like the business fundamentals of how they run the team, because a lot of these strategies are going to work. But if you commit to that strategy, if it's a funding strategy, it's an organic strategy or whatever it is, I think there's a great opportunity for any team to thrive, right? There's room for many different ones, I think, if you're smart about it.
I think that is all we've got time for today. So yeah, we're going to be in trouble otherwise. So everybody, thank you very much for listening. Please give them a big round of applause.